Guys, this is Waga. Welcome to the channel. As always, like and subscribe, and let's continue building our app. As you can see here, we have the finished article, and today we're going to work on the Bloc Delegate and start working on the UI, hook up some things on the main.dart to the main.dart so that we can start seeing some things, and later on in another video start working on the login and logout. So what we're going to do, I wanted to give this is the finished product. This is what we're working towards, and I wanted to show how Bloc Delegate works so that you have an idea of what we're going to build. So for example, I am on the search page here. We have somebody else imaginatively called Tester, who's 18, and like I said, the geolocator is a bit iffy on iOS, but it works perfectly on Android. I checked, and hopefully when we finish the version we're building, we won't have these problems of geolocator not working on iOS. I'm guessing it's a privacy thing. Yeah, but anyway, we're on the search page, and what I want you to keep an eye on is the console. When we change, we move to, this is the matches page. We will get something will be logged of the event, and the current event and the next event, and state that will be logged on the console. That's what the Bloc Delegate does. So for example, if we hit this, we will see load list event, current state, loading state, event, load list event, and the next state is load user state. So this is the transition function that is being logged to the console, and this is the load list event. This will enable us to keep tabs on what is happening, and if we have errors, they'll also be logged to the console. That's what basically the block does. It helps us log the transitions that occur. I'm guessing this is from Firebase. The transitions that occur, what is happening in our app, so that we can get to grips with exactly what is happening. Yeah. So for example, if we go to the messages, click on messages, we should get something else, I'm guessing. So we have chat stream event. We have the current state is message initial state. The event is chat stream event. The next state is chat loading state. And we have another transition. You see all this. So basically that's it. It helps us log stuff, and that is what we are going to continue. We're going to start building right now, the Bloc Delegate. So we're going to go back to our app, and this is not our app, this is the finished app. We're going to go back to our app and get to building the Bloc Delegate. In our app, the app that we're building currently, this is the finished article. And like I said, the Bloc Delegate allows us to override the transition, the error. We can override transition and error and event to allow us to see the various to essentially console log them whenever they happen, so that we can see them, and it's very handy. Okay, so for that we're going to come to the block folder, and we're going to right click it, and we are going to create a new .dart file. We're going to call it Bloc Delegate. Am I spelling it correct? Delegate, and hit enter like so, and we're going to have the Bloc Delegate here. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to call the class simple Bloc Delegate like so, and this one will extend Bloc Delegate like so, and we will by doing so we will import the block package. We require that, remember. And yeah, and so we're going to override three methods. There's going to be the on error, on event, and on transition. I've explained all three. I believe I gave a big long spiel about what on transition is, what an event is, and what an error is. So if you don't remember that, you can always go back to, I think it is one of the first videos, probably the second one. Yeah, so we can start with the on event. If, for example, you want to see all the events that have been added, you just override the event method on the block delegate, and that's where you're going to see it. So what we could do here, we could say at override. Sometimes I forget that it has two R's. We could say void returns nothing, and we say on event like so, and this one will take in a block and an event object. We could say event like so, and yeah, and so we could say super dot on event, and we just have the block and event like so, and what we're going to do is print out the event object. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to print out the event object. And yeah, on error, when we override the on, let's see, that's here. When we override the on error, we will handle every block exception every time there's an exception. By default, all exceptions are usually ignored. And but here I usually ignored, but here when we have an exception, it's going to be logged out. Usually it's just ignored, but yeah. So we could just come here and do the same. We first override it, override 2Rs, void on error like so, and this one will take in a block of type block, and then it's going to have an object, an error object. We could say object error, and this might have changed in 4.2. I haven't checked about what changes they have instituted in 4.2. No, 4. It's 4.0, right? Yeah, I think it's 4.0. So yeah, so this might have changed. Okay. I'm actually just glancing at the documentation, and the documentation, originally I'd done it with printing. Yeah, we print the event before the on this, but yeah, originally I'd done it like that. But apparently the documentation uses this on the block delegate. We put the print event before this, so we could do the same here. I'm guessing here we use we get the stack trace so that we can look through it, and stack trace, and yeah, and we print the error. We're going to print the error. I have the documentation open in another screen, so I can just glance on it, and I'm comparing it to what I had originally built the working app on. So apparently when I was building it, I put in place the order was different, but it's basically the same. So and another something else we could override is, of course, the transition. And the transition, as you saw, the transition which will show you the event, the current state, the next state, and things like that, right? Why is stack trace complaining? Undefined name stack trace. Stack trace. Oh, I misspelled stack trace. It's supposed to be capital. The T is supposed to be capital. Yeah, like so. So yeah, so let's go, and the next one is at override void on transition, and that one is going to just take block transition. We could say block transition like so, and then just like this we print the transition object. We could say transition like so, and then super dot on transition, and it takes a block and a transition, like so. And so we have effectively hooked up our block delegate. Now this is done for. Now what we need to do is tell our main.dart, which we have taken a while to get to, but now we're going to go to the main.dart and tell it about the block delegate and hook a few things up. I believe there are a few methods on we need to look at, and yeah, we're going to continue with the main.dart. So we're going to go to our pages folder, we're going to continue, and we're going to create a home page, and we can come here and go to Dart and type home, HOME, like so. And this is going to be a stateful widget, so we could type STFUL, like so, and it's going to be home, like so. And we're going to return a text here which says you are home, like so. And of course we need to import the prerequisites. We need to import flutter material dot flutter material dot, like so. Yeah, so yeah, we need to do that, and then we need to come back to our main.dart, and we can clear everything out. Finally cleaning out the main.dart, and it's a lot of stuff. I wish they would have something more pared back. I'm sure there's an option for that, just haven't had a look at it. So we would come here and we would get the void main. You know, this is the entry point for every Flutter app, right? So the first thing we're going to use something widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialize. This is something that was required by Flutter before you initialize something. So before, like if you use a plugin before run app, right? So for that, if we want to use a plugin before running the app, you need to have this widgets thing, widgets flutter binding, like so. And then it's going to be ensure initialized, like so. So you need this. Flutter introduced it. It wasn't there a while back, but it was introduced in Flutter, one of the newer versions of Flutter, I think 2.0 or something like that. And then now we're going to tell our app about the block delegate, and for that you would say block supervisor. That is going to import our block file, of course, and then we're going to tell it about our simple block delegate. So we're going to say simple block delegate, like so. So now our app knows about our simple block delegate, yeah, like so. And then after that we're going to now run our app, and the app is going to be home, like so. Okay, can we import? Yes. So basically, yeah, so we have we've essentially gotten we have told our app about the homepage, and we have connected our main.dart to, we have connected this the block delegate to the main.dart, and we have ensured that widgets flutter binding ensure initialized. Yeah, so we have done that. We have connected our main to this is going to be our main app. We're not going to keep a lot of the things on it. Actually, this is the entirety of the app. We're going to do most of the stuff in the homepage. Yeah, and for that we go to our pages and click on home, and the first thing we want to do here is to create two instance variables. We could say final user repository, and we call it user repository, and this is going to be equal to user repository, like so. It's going to be an instance of user repository, and also we're going to bring in the auth block. So authentication block, so you could get that and have authentication block like so. So another thing we need to where we're going to add use the add method on the block is in the init state. Init states are only available on stateful widgets, right? So we're going to do that here. Usually called at the beginning when a widget is inserted into a tree, right? So at the very beginning. So for that we could say init state like so, and yeah, and so we just type init state and then use the auto completion to get that. So this will be done before the widget is inserted, or at the time the widget is inserted into the object tree, into the tree. So first things we could do is remember the authentication rather. I'm still stuck on web. Authentication has a dependency on the user block, so you have to pass the user block to the authentication, right? If we come back to authentication and check, you find that we assert that the user repository will not be null, so it expects us to get it expects to get the user repository, right? So for that, here what we're going to do is remember the auth block, the authentication, not authorization. Authentication block has a dependency, authentication block, and we pass in the user repository, and this is going to be the user repository, like so. So it expects that. That's the first thing it expects. Next, we are going to use the add method on the auth block. Remember, the add method it takes an event, and this event triggers the map event to state. Remember, if we, for example, if you can come back to authentication, and it will say if event is app started. So we're going to give it an event. And how do you give authentication block an event? You use the add method, right? So what we would come here and say is authentication block dot add, and the event in this case is the app started. How come I can't see it? App started, like so. So if the event is app started, it will trigger the map event to state. So we have passed that, and it will come here and check if event is app started. It will trigger this map app started to state, and we come here and it will check if you're signed in, and if you're signed in it gets the user, and if it's your first time, yada yada yada. So it will go through this. That's what we're trying to do here. I know it seemed a bit abstract, but right now you can see it, and very soon you will see it on the screen when we finally make our sign-in form. So basically we have our authentication block, and we're adding the method we're adding the event app started, which will trigger the map event to state and all the various things that we have been building up on, right? So we are basically done with this, and we now go down here and we can get rid of this you are home, yeah. And one thing we're going to use now is the block provider. The block provider is basically a widget that oh sorry, is a widget that provides a block to its children, right? Basically, one interesting thing to note is that even BLoC uses provider at its base, as you're about to see. So I'm thinking that if you're picking to build an app, it's better to just cut out the middleman and just use provider, in my opinion. I've already built on YouTube 2 apps with provider. So basically, even BLoC uses provider, so I don't know. I would understand the reason why BLoC would be chosen as opposed to provider. Is the structure it provides, all these files. It is very opinionated on what is required. Provider is less strict on that, so it gives you options. So I would see that is perhaps in a big team why people would go to use provider. No, BLoC as opposed to provider. But provider is easier, less boilerplate. We would have been well into building this app if we would have used provider. But yeah, so basically what it does is that it just uses it provides the block to multiple widgets within the subtree. So we're using this is the top of our tree, or near the top of our tree. So everything underneath will have access to the auth block using if we use the block provider, right? So we could say here block provider like so, and I'm thinking yeah, block provider like so, and what we're going to have is we're going to say create here, and it's going to take the context. Context just basically tells it where it is, and we are going to provide the authentication block. So everything under this is going to have the authentication block, and under its child is going to be the material app. Material app like so. So everything underneath this is going to have access to the block, and of course we're going to get rid of the pesky banner, the banner which is usually at the top. We could say just debug, blah, blah, blah. We could just say false here, debug show checked mode banner. And then the block builder is a widget that it's like a future builder. It requires a block and a builder function. It handles the building of blocks depending on the state. So for example, if the state is uninitialized, we're going to have the splash page. If you're authenticated, you're going to have another page. If you're authenticated but you have not set, you're going to get the profile page. If you are unauthenticated, you're going to get the login page. So that's basically what it's going to do, right? So we can come back here and we could say the home is going to be a block. Why isn't it giving me builder? Block builder like so, and the block in question is going to be the authentication block like so, and afterwards we're going to provide the builder, and the builder is going to take a context and the state of the authentication in this case. So it's going to be build context, and we're going to provide context to tell it where it is, and after that we're going to say authentication state like so, and we're going to provide this like so, right? Why is it complaining about this? Authentication state undefined class authentication state. I think we need to import the authentication state. So yeah, so we import the authentication state and we're all set. And now we can check the state. We could say like if state is uninitialized like so, we could say the splash page. We haven't made the splash page yet, and we can come to the pages. We'll come to the pages folder, and we can create a quick splash page. And when you come to the pages folder, we could do this. Right click, new file, and we just call it splash, like so. And where is it? Let's close the main. The main is done. Let's go back to home, and we can just call it we call it a splash. We can just call it splash, like so. And we come here to splash, and splash is going to be a stateless widget. So we could just say stateless like so, and hit tab, and the state is going to be splash, like so. And it is going to return we can just return a text, right? We could say a text and say here splash. Let me just dismiss this and say splash here. And of course we need to import the prerequisites, which is Flutter material dot, as you always have to. Let's give it a bit of room, like so. Now time for the moment of truth. We should hook everything up and see whether it works as we expect. We go back to home. Oh, we haven't imported splash yet, so we import it. We import the package splash, like so, and then we could give it an else because it's expecting a return either way. So we could return a container, like so. And in the container we could say, we could give it a child, and the child could be a text of done, like so, done. So basically, yeah, container. Why is this complaining? Oh yeah, it expects semicolon. This is dot after all. So right now it's time to hit our run button, and I'm guessing it might take a bit longer than usual. Why is there red? Let me look at the data analysis. Do we have, oh, this is on the test widget. So we will come and use this Firestore when you're making the profile, which will be a few videos down from now. We're not using the chill main the dot. Okay, I don't know why that is there, but yeah, basically that's that. Okay, let's go to run. So it's running the Xcode build, and if all goes as it should, we should get a very ugly, because we haven't defined anything. We should just define here u, like so. Yeah, it's going to take a bit of time because it's running the Xcode, but it's running the Xcode build, and it's halfway there, and my computer perhaps is also straining under the weight of running the simulator from using VS Code to run this, and also trying to build this app, and also the video. So all that is making my computer strain, but hopefully in a few seconds we should get a, yeah. But what we did is we used the block provider, and the block that we were providing was the authentication block, and we got app started here, and yeah, and the authentication block has a dependency on the user repository, which we provided, and as you can see, I had initially, when I was building it, just called, funny name, tried to be funny, I called it hang bang. Wanna hang, wanna bang. Yeah, but yeah, it was funny. At the time, I thought it was funny. Maybe not so much to you, but it was a joke to myself, like the Netflix and chill thing. Anyway, if we go back to our app and we see the splash page, yeah, so if it's an initialized, we get the splash, and then after that we get the container with the done. So basically we have successfully hooked up our block, and now we can start building out the app. So we have worked with the Bloc Delegate in this video, and we have gone about setting up everything, and it works. And I think we can safely conclude that we have been successful in this video. As always, thank you. Like and subscribe and share this video. Start the repository on GitHub. And if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, and oh yeah, you can see our delegate here: current state, an initialized event, app started, next state, and authenticated. So you see, we are having, if our block delegate is working, so basically we have gotten everything. We have sorted out the block delegate, and now we can go about building our various pages, and that's what we're going to do in the next video. Thank you and have a good day.